and cravings.
Paddy Pimblett went from one of the most likable fighters.
Okay, I like Paddy. He a pretty good fighter. We're gonna see how. What's up, YouTube? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy Titus Saint. You know what I'm saying? I reversed it again, but that's besides the point, right? We're gonna see how Paddy became the most likable fighters to the most dislikable in a week. This is probably hyperbolic. Probably is not that bad. Not that unlike, but we're gonna see what happened.
In the UFC to one of its most hated in about a week. So what happened? Before this video starts, I wanted to say Paddy is a pretty good guy. He released a video about mental health awareness for men, which is a topic that should be discussed more often. So I kind of feel like a piece of shit for dropping this video like a couple days after that video, but I kind of worked hard on this video and I put a lot of hours into it, so I'm gonna drop it anyways. So yeah, Paddy has recently become the UFC's most hated fighter in record-breaking time. See, when once beloved fighters become very hated by the UFC fan base, it usually takes a lot of bad decisions and a series of unfortunate events for their image to be tarnished. But in Paddy's case, it practically only took 7 days for the entire UFC fan base to turn on him. It seems like the whole UFC community has united against Paddy Pimblett, and I wanted to showcase how we got here. But before I begin, I wanted to mention that there are a lot of great video essays already out there on YouTube documenting the problem with Paddy Pimblett, his delusion, the controversial fight he had with Jared Gordon, and also the Ariel Helwani situation, all of which we'll get to later in this video. But I wanted to compile all of these things.
You gotta understand, with these fighters, these are people who fight for a living. They do a job where they have to put their spirit and will against another person's spirit and will that also's trained for like several years. They're damn near their entire life. You know what I'm saying? I would think it takes a level of ego and arrogance to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not condoning what these people do, but like I just feel that I feel like it has to have some leniency. You got to understand where they're coming from, but like you also got to hold people accountable. I get that.
To one video and kind of demonstrate a timeline of when he was very liked all the way to the point we're at now where he's very hated. So let's begin. Let's go all the way back to last year, 2021, when he exploded.
Hey yo, do I say ain't that your flag?
The scene with his debut against Luigi Vendramini in the Apex. If you haven't already watched this fight, I suggest you check it out.
My fault,
banger.
My fault.
The UFC channel, and it's just one round of pure action. The fight actually starts with Vendramini getting the best of Paddy Pimblett when he lands a huge left hook over the top that rocks Paddy, and then he also goes for a successful takedown. However, Paddy does get up, and they start to trick.
See me in the ring, that gonna be like, I'm gonna be rock'em sock'em. But I'm 175, bro. But these dudes that are like 175 are like husky and big, right? And they cut weight like, bro. I don't know how I be in the ring. These people are trained to kill people.
Back and forth for the next couple of minutes up until the point where Paddy kind of finds his range and starts barraging Vendramini with punches and finishes him with the TKO. Not only was this an awesome finish, but the post-fight interview was just as entertaining. He blessed us with his beautiful Scouse accent and a bunch of amazing quotables. And I remember the internet at the time could not get over how ridiculous he looked. I mean, his hair is beautiful. That bowl cut is awesome, and he looks like the 5th member of the Beatles. Now, before this, he was a pretty big star in Cage Warriors, which is a fighting organization that a lot of European stars have come out of, such as Conor McGregor and Michael Bisping. But this debut...
Yeah, bro. Look at the physique, too. The physique is awesome.
Definitely blew up his name, particularly to North America. And the Paddy the Baddy love would only grow from here, as he would have two...
Could you imagine being this guy in this guillotine? I think this is a guillotine. But like, bro, there's nothing you can do in this situation, bro. Either you tap or you pass out. It depends on what type of man you are, bro. Like, bro, this is a crazy position to be in, bro. Like, another man's playing you like this, bro. Like, I would be so mad, bro. If I get knocked out, I'm coming back with a gun.
Electrifying submissions, both rear naked chokes in the O2 Arena at London, England during UFC fight nights. And it was kind of hard not to like the guy. I mean, every one of his fights was a banger, whether he was getting hit or he was hitting his opponent. All of his fights ended up in him getting that finish. He had great charisma, he was really good on the mic, and he also had a very powerful and heartfelt message about mental health and mental health awareness in his post-fight interview after his finish on Jordan Levitt. Additionally, he had great social media presence, and his YouTube channel is pretty exciting even after all of this drama. He showcased his training as a fighter. He is also very known for ballooning in weight when he's not fighting. I documented this in one of my videos, but he ate like a madman when he was out of camp, and people seem to enjoy his life outside of fighting as well.
I think he's still doing good. Yeah, his YouTube channel's still doing great. And it's not like he's any less of a fighter, but like I want to know what he do.
How did this rising star that was pretty much loved by his community come to the point where we're talking about him being really hated? Well, it all started when he dropped his podcast with Dana White. In this podcast with Dana White, he would preview UFC 282, which was the event that he was co-manning for, and they would talk about the event, the UFC in general, and for some reason it got to the topic of journalism, and then this is where the tone of the podcast switched. In this segment, Paddy brings up Ariel Helwani, who is an MMA journalist, and he just absolutely shits on him, calling him a rodent, a rat, and personally attacks him. He says or claims that Ariel Helwani has been taking advantage of fighters by making money off of their name in the interviews that he does with them. And
I mean, I think that's what journalism is itself. Like, yeah, if I was an athlete, I would have a problem with like journalism. Like the Lamar Jackson with the other, when he said, "Oh, get my." Oh, peace, Dawasi. You have a great one too, gang. Peace, Dawasi. Right? I would also have a problem with journalism, right? Because, like, bro, journalists, it's like y'all not really in the field, especially the ones that never did nothing. You know what I'm saying? But they have all this critique to my character. Like not to say people are exempt from critique, but, like, bro, a dude that's never picked up football in his life is critiquing me if I was an NFL player. Like, you know what I'm saying? That would be really annoying to me.
In the wrong for not paying the fighters he's interviewing, and it's kind of ironic that he's saying all of this and talking about the exploitation of fighters in front of Dana, of all people. If you want to check out this video by me, I go in depth.
Yeah, the dude who literally exploits young fighters to get them when they're ripe and young, get them hurt and all that. You know what I'm saying? And as they get older, they get like they can't really defend them. So I get the sentiment.
Dana has kind of taken advantage of fighters and taken opportunities away from fighters to make more money, but the whole situation was just really ironic. And well, the MMA community did not take a liking to what Paddy said. And for those who don't know, Ariel Helwani is one of the more respected MMA journalists. He's been in the game since the beginning. And besides probably Joe Rogan, he's been one of the most recognizable and OG parts of the sport. This isn't a perfect analogy, but Ariel Helwani is to the UFC as Stephen A. Smith is to basketball. He gets mean on, but
Stephen A. I mean, okay, maybe because I'm 19, I'm really young. I haven't seen but like old head Stephen A. People really regard Dana like old head Stephen A. Maybe because I don't feel like Stephen A. that don't got that much pull especially when I was younger. But like, yeah, maybe okay.
I think generally both communities respect those guys a lot because of the dedication to covering the sport. But then Ariel would clap back with a response of his own in an hour-long segment on his show where he basically exposed Paddy and all of the things he said in the podcast with Dana White. The biggest moment and key takeaway from this segment is when Ariel Helwani would expose Paddy Pimblett with a voice message that was sent to him, basically insinuating that Paddy would come onto the show with Ariel. Ariel would agree, and then Paddy would set Ariel up with his manager, but things would get a little weird when Paddy's manager would ask Ariel for some type of payment because I guess Paddy was too busy to be on that show unless he got paid. And here, this is where Ariel Helwani would make a really good point. He basically says that this is typically not how journalism works. With these big name athlete interviews, there's mutual benefit for both parties. Basically, the guy conducting the interview is able to have a big name or a rising star on their show, which brings in more viewers. The person who is being interviewed gets more exposure.
Just on some I get it, right. So he's just people are saying Patty tried to like oh, Dana was getting nothing out of doing Patty, you know. No, Patty was getting way more out of it than Dana was getting in the interview, and people feel like that's unfair. And the fact that Patty called him out on some nut stuff, you know what I'm saying? People feel like, oh, that's kind of weird of him, you know what I'm saying?
And allows fans to see another side of them, a more personal side to them. So with both sides mutually benefiting from one another, traditionally there is no form of payment between the two parties. Ariel also explains that he has had much bigger stars than Patty on the show, such as Jon Jones and Conor McGregor. So for Patty to be the first person out of all of the people he's interviewed to ask for a form of payment to be on the show, it just felt like Patty felt entitled, or he wanted some type of star treatment. So going into UFC 282, he definitely lost some fans and some likability with his handling of the Ariel Helwani situation, but he could erase all of that with his fight against Jared Gordon, somebody who everybody expected Patty to beat. But unfortunately
did
Patty...
Did Patty lose?
This is where things went south. I remember watching this live with my bro, and Patty was dominated by Jared Gordon from start to finish. Gordon kept landing those same damaging shots. It was usually the left hook, but also sometimes the right hook, and it seemed like Patty was getting clipped.
Dag, this is what you, like, dag, doom, like, look at Patty, look at the rolls on his head. That was like, can you imagine that touch the jaw? Like, and look at Patty's face. That is not what he looks like. His whole like face track magnified. Like, god dang, what be going on? You see, MMA is crazy. I've been in fights, but like seeing it up close, it's like, it's gruesome. No way, I would never had another man out have rolls on my head like that, bro.
Everything Gordon was throwing. At the end of the fight, I had it 3-0 for Jared Gordon. I thought it was a pretty clear, dominating performance by Jared.
Did Patty win?
Much more damaging shots. You could maybe give round 2 to Patty because the punch stats were much more close. But Jared Gordon definitely had the first round and definitely had the third round with a lot of ground control time. So when the decision was announced, and mind you, a unanimous decision for Paddy Pimblett, everybody was in shock. Unfortunately, Jared Gordon was clearly robbed in favor of a rising star, and what made matters even worse is that Paddy Pimblett asked Dana White for fight of the night. And the thing is, this fight was not only a robbery, but it was by far the worst fight on the main card. Now we come to the final nail in the coffin, which is doubling down. So after this fight, Paddy goes backstage, and in a video that he posted on YouTube, he would double down and say he did win that fight. And
hey, die on your hip, bro. I'm a strong believer as a man. Hey, bro, if you believe what you believe, bro, die on your hill, bro. If he want to die on his hill, he can die on his hill, bro. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, bro. Like, bro, like, if you want to apologize, that's you. But if you want to die on your hill, go ahead, bro. Just remember, there's consequences that come to that. And I'm never going to shame a dude for dying on his hill.
Not only this, he would call out all of his critics as haters. He was so adamant that he clearly won the fight, and he never once admitted how close that fight was. He truly thought that that fight, in which he was dominated from start to finish, was a win for him. And I love the comments in this comment section, because even Paddy fans wanted to let Paddy know that he lost that fight clearly. Everybody, whether they were Paddy fans or not, were united under the fact that he was delusional and that he did not win that fight. So this is where we're at now. A once beloved star with great potential turned into one of the most criticized and hated fighters in a
But he still got potential. Y'all act like he, oh, come on.
Breaking time. So the following is just my opinion and my thoughts. Take it with a grain of salt. But what I think is that stardom went to his head and he became a megastar way too quickly. He became a huge star in the UFC in like less than a year, and he looked like the new face of the sport. I think this is what led him to feel entitled to demand payment by Ariel Helwani, and this is also why he denies losing to a guy like Jared Gordon, who's outside of the top 15. And I think this is what led him to double down on the fact that he thinks he won against Jared Gordon and refuses
I mean, he's young, so I feel like he'll grow out of it.
to believe that the criticisms that are in his comment section is not hate. So what do you guys think about Paddy Pimblett? I think, you know, it's pretty early in his career. He can turn this around and
Yeah, like, bro, people act like it's like...
admit that the Jared Gordon fight was pretty close. Maybe admit that he shouldn't be demanding payment from Ariel Helwani. Who knows? I think he's a really good guy. I want to mention that again. I think he's a really good guy. But, you know, the last couple of things he's done haven't looked too great for him. So,
Yeah, he's young. So, like, people make young mistakes. Probably when he's, like, 40, 36, like, he'll be, like, down the line. He'll be like, oh, yeah, it was getting too hot for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, on some calm stuff. You know what I'm saying? He gonna chill out. Everybody mellow out when they get older.